This is a big challenge, and so we have worked, and this is something that we have to continue to work, is to make these, you know, you work with social movements, you understand what are the issues they're working with, and then you don't go up to them and give them what the climate change model is, but rather you take what they're doing and fit climate change into what they're doing. And it's very possible, if people are working on water, for example, we know that there are direct linkages between climate change and water that are already taking place. Even poverty or health or just about anything, that there is a climatic impact or this climate change impact. And so this is one, and I've taken more than my time, so maybe we'll talk more in the discussion. The other thing that we, I think, need to do hand in hand with you is to make sure that we are holding these corporations and international financial institutions accountable as we do this work. Because yes, India is going somewhat the wrong way. We're trying to become a consumerist society like here and like the United States, which is what has led to this crisis in the first place. And that is not what we need. That is not the model that's going to work. It's absolutely not sustainable, because it's not, this earth itself, in and by itself, is just not enough to have India and China, you know, sort of live the same lifestyle. It just will not be able to accept that India and China and other countries start living like the average American lives today. And that is something that is being pushed down in many ways on Indian people. And this is something that we need to work together to challenge, because a lot of those policies are actually made in countries like the UK or the United States and the European Union. So thank you very much.
Right. Now I turn to invite Sharon Looremeta, who works for Practical Action. That's used to be the Intermediate Technology Movement. Schumacher, Small is Beautiful's organisation, and Sharon works with them in Kenya, I believe. Sharon.
Thank you. Imagine having to deny your child an education because you need their help to find water. Imagine seeing the carcasses of your animals, which you rely on as food and a livelihood, strewn across your homeland. It's almost impossible to imagine, but it is the harsh reality felt by millions every day. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sharon Looremeta. I work for Practical Action, and I'm based in Kenya. In Kenya, we are really having a life with the devastating consequences on climate change. Although we are not responsible for causing it, we are working tirelessly to address this problem. 4 years ago, the government of Kenya appointed a ministry to look at these issues, specifically in the drylands of Kenya. They are focused on enabling people to cope with the droughts that strike more often than before. They also help the communities be able to manage their lands, especially during droughts. In Kenya, there are groups of numbers and networks campaigning on climate change, putting pressure on the government to make sure that this remains a priority. In November 2006, I addressed the United Nations Conference on Climate Change in Nairobi. I voiced the frustrations of myself and my people, and the lack of action being taken by the world leaders. Practical Action organized a rally whereby 3,000 people, Kenyans, took to the streets to protest against climate change. People from all walks of life came to the rally. The pastoralists, who are mainly hit by the droughts and the changing climate came from thousands of miles to the work. The disabled, the children, and the women who are suffering most. This rally came just weeks after tens of thousands of people showed their support here at Trafalgar Square, which I spoke representing my Maasai community. After the climate change campaign, I'm happy to announce that the pastoralists formed their own climate network, a community-based organization. This organization is supporting local communities to adapt to the changing environment by conducting several awareness-raising campaigns and trainings. However, I must warn you that although we have these groups, they are in danger of being overshadowed until they have one voice. This is not unique to Kenya. I have seen that even here in the UK, there are many organizations competing to be heard. What we need is to work together. In Kenya, we need the support and guidance of established groups to ensure that African voices are not only listened to, but are also taken notice of. Climate change is a moral injustice. We have done little to contribute to the problem. However, we must be part of the solution. Thank you.
Right, because we're now going to zoom one into further. We're off to Finland now, and please we welcome Oras Tynkkynen, who I believe was here to has an audio-visual presentation. He is a Green MP in his homeland. Oras.
Well, thank you. I'm going to join the North European PowerPoint users club here. Finland has had a rather green reputation internationally, and there are some good reasons to that. One is that we have one of the highest shares of combined heat and power use in the EU. About a third of our electricity comes from combined heat and power, compared with only about 6% here in the UK. Oh, what happened to that? Okay, well, I'm just going to have to do without. We have also one of the highest shares of bioenergy within Europe. About 20% of our primary energy comes from biomass. However, this is not the whole picture. We have one of the highest greenhouse gas emission rates per capita, both within Europe and also in the whole world. And what is even more worrying is that our energy consumption rates and emission rates have been continuously growing for the past 10 years or so, and they have been growing fast. If we exclude industrial biomass and large-scale hydropower and look at the so-called new renewables like wind power, solar energy, biogas, heat pumps, and so on, Finland is not even close to the top. For example, on wind energy, we are really lagging behind. We have the smallest wind power capacity installed in Western EU, just after tiny Luxembourg. For instance, Germany has more than 200 times the wind power capacity we have in Finland. So we are not doing that well there. And moreover, what I find really worrying is that not only we are not doing what we should at home, we are also consistently blocking action within the European Union. Finland has consistently opposed ambitious climate targets within the Union. It's going to take too much time. So I think the Finnish climate policy is really a paradox. We have the expertise, we have the technology, and yet our emissions are increasing all the time. We have vast renewable energy resources, and yet we are building nuclear power. We have high awareness and very little action. So I kind of thought that it might be helpful to look at some of the obstacles to action. And there are obviously many, but I could just briefly highlight 3 issues